It was the largest non-nuclear explosion in human history. A 3-kiloton blast that turned the Siberian night into a blinding white noon. It was so powerful that American satellites, parked thousands of miles above the Earth, triggered an automatic nuclear war alert. But here is the terrifying part. There was no missile, no bomber, no soldier on the ground. The weapon that leveled miles of ancient forest was a single, invisible line of computer code. A logic bomb. For decades, the Soviet Union had been operating a global heist, stealing the crown jewels of American technology to build their infrastructure. They thought they were winning. They thought they were outsmarting the CIA. They didn't realize that the software they just stole for their multi-billion-dollar pipeline had been carefully, surgically poisoned. This isn't just a spy story. This is a true crime case where the crime scene was an entire empire. This is the story of the Farewell Dossier. To understand how a line of code becomes a bomb, you have to look at the man who gave the Americans the keys to the Kremlin, Vladimir Vetrov. Vetrov was a high-ranking KGB colonel and a member of Line X, the elite unit whose only job was to steal industrial secrets from the West. By the early 80s, the Soviet Union was a technological ghost town. They couldn't build their own microchips. They couldn't write their own complex software, so they farmed it out to spies. But Vetrov was a man rotting from the inside. He hated the system he served. In a park in Moscow, he began handing over thousands of pages of top-secret documents to the French intelligence service. This was the Farewell Dossier. When the dossier reached President Ronald Reagan, it contained a shopping list. It was a literal catalog of every piece of American tech the KGB was planning to steal in the coming year. The CIA didn't try to stop the thieves. Instead, they decided to sell them exactly what they wanted. They opened the back door to their most sensitive software labs and waited for the KGB to take the bait. But before they let it go, a secret team of CIA programmers spent weeks in a windowless room, rewriting the DNA of the software. They created a masterpiece of sabotage, a program that would work perfectly until it was too late to turn it off. This is the forensic heart of the sabotage. The Soviets were building the Trans-Siberian pipeline, a massive artery designed to pump natural gas from the Urengoy fields to Western Europe. To manage the pressure across thousands of miles of wilderness, they needed sophisticated automated control systems. They stole a specific set of software from a Canadian firm that the CIA had quietly modified. For months, the pipeline was a triumph. The Soviet engineers marveled at how smoothly the American code ran. But deep within the machine language, a countdown was running. The logic bomb wasn't a timer. It was a set of conditions. The code was told, if the operation hits 10,000 hours and the gas pressure exceeds 800 psi, execute the following. In June 1982, the conditions were met. The software suddenly overrode the human operators. It told the pumps to ramp up the pressure to maximum. Simultaneously, it sent a false signal to the relief valves, telling them that the pressure was perfectly normal. Imagine the scene. Miles of heavy steel pipe, buried in the mud, beginning to expand. The metal moaning under the weight of thousands of tons of compressed gas. The operators in the control room looking at their screens, which were being fed fake data, saying everything was fine. Then, the rupture. The explosion was so hot it melted the surrounding permafrost into a lake. It was a cyber attack 30 years before the term was even invented. The crime wasn't just the physical damage. It was the total destruction of trust. The KGB realized that every piece of tech they had ever stolen, from their nuclear silos to their radar systems, could be a ticking bomb. In the weeks following the Siberian blast, a suffocating cloud of paranoia descended upon the Kremlin. The official line was that it was a simple construction accident, but behind the closed doors of the KGB's first chief directorate, they knew the truth. The explosion hadn't just destroyed a pipeline, it had shattered the Soviet illusion of technological parity. They began a forensic audit of every system they had acquired from the West. Imagine the terror of a Soviet radar operator sitting in a bunker in East Germany, staring at a screen that controls a nuclear-tipped missile. Suddenly, that screen wasn't a tool of defense. It was a potential trigger. If the Americans could turn a gas pump into a bomb with a line of code, What had they done to the software controlling the Soviet Union's early warning systems? The KGB launched an internal mole hunt that was unprecedented in its brutality. They didn't just look for spies, they looked for logical discrepancies. They pulled in hundreds of programmers and engineers, forcing them to scan millions of lines of machine code by hand, looking for another logic bomb. But the CIA's plan had worked too well. The Americans didn't just sabotage the pipeline, they had planted a digital virus of doubt. The Soviets became so terrified of their own stolen equipment that they began to dismantle their own infrastructure. They were spending more resources trying to clean their stolen tech than it would have cost to invent it themselves. It was a silent, bloodless coup. While the rest of the world was looking for a nuclear war, the Cold War was being won in the microscopic gaps between zeros and ones. But as the KGB's internal investigators moved closer to the source of the leak, the man who had started it all, Vladimir Vetrov, began to realize that the walls were finally closing in. Vladimir Vetrov's story ends not on a hill in Siberia, but in a cold cellar in Moscow. His descent into madness was rapid. In a fit of paranoid hysteria in 1982, he attacked a woman in a park and stabbed a fellow KGB officer to death. During the murder investigation, the KGB searched his home and found the French intelligence codes. They realized that the man who had been their most trusted technocrat was the man who had decapitated their industrial future. Vetrov was taken to Lubyanka prison. In February 1985, he was executed. But his legacy lived on in the crumbling Soviet economy. They spent billions trying to vet their own stolen technology, a task that proved impossible. This is a true crime story where the weapon was logic, and the killer was a ghost in the machine. The logic bomb wasn't just about the Cold War. It was a preview of the world we live in today. In 2010, the Stuxnet virus crippled Iran's nuclear centrifuges using the exact same playbook: malicious code hidden in legitimate software, waiting for the perfect conditions to strike. In 2021, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack shut down fuel supplies across the entire east coast of America. No soldiers, no missiles, just code. Every smart device in your home, every power grid, every water treatment plant, they all run on software. And software can be poisoned. The Farewell dossier proved that the most dangerous weapon in modern warfare isn't nuclear. It's invisible, it's patient, and it can wait decades before it destroys you. The next logic bomb is already out there. The question is, when will the conditions be met?